you've spent the last month polishing your resume to match every single keyword, only to be met with total silence, I want you to stop for a second. Pull up a chair. I know that silence feels heavy. It feels like you're doing everything right, but the world just isn't responding. You've checked every box, you've optimized the formatting, and you've played the game exactly as you were told. But here's the reality. You aren't failing the system, you're following a system that no longer exists. I've been in this industry for 15 years. I've seen the cycles, but what we're seeing right now in 2026 is different. It's what I call the ghost job epidemic. Did you know that 22% of active job postings right now are ghost jobs? They are listings with no immediate intent to hire. They're there for data, for brand presence, or just out of corporate habit, and it's taking longer to find a seat. The average job search duration has jumped by 22% recently. We're looking at nearly 70 days on average, and for over a third of you, that search cycle is stretching past 6 months. If you feel like you're running on a treadmill that's slowly speeding up while you're getting nowhere, it's because the traditional perfect candidate checklist has become a liability. Let that number sit for a second. Nearly a quarter of what you see on LinkedIn isn't even a real opening. So if the standard playbook is suddenly invisible to the people doing the hiring, we have to ask, why? Why does the perfect resume get ignored while a human on the other side is desperately looking for someone to hire? Here's the part that most people have completely backwards. I want to tell you about the perfection trap. For decades, our careers were built on being the best at following the manual. We were taught that if we were efficient, if we were logical, and if we were perfect, we were valuable. But here's the hard truth for 2026. Perfection is now a commodity. Think about it. AI now handles about 90% of the routine logic and junior tasks that used to be the entry point for most careers. When I first saw the recruiter data on this, it honestly changed how I think about the whole hiring process. 82% of enterprises are using AI to screen your resume before a human ever sees it, and 21% of those systems are set to auto-reject without any human review at all. If your resume looks like a machine wrote it, meaning it's perfectly optimized, perfectly balanced, and perfectly generic, the hiring manager assumes a machine should do the job instead of you. We call this model collapse. When everyone uses AI to look perfect, nobody stands out. You become a drop of water in an ocean of identical excellence. Recruiters in 2026 aren't looking for perfection anymore. They can get perfection for $20 a month from a subscription. What they are desperately searching for is something I call human friction. They want the rough edges. They want the evidence of a person who has wrestled with a problem that a computer couldn't solve. Here's where it gets really interesting. Most candidates are training themselves to be better robots, while the companies are actually dying to find the human exceptions. They're looking for the person who knows when the AI is wrong. Now, this is the part that changes everything. If the rule followers are being phased out, what are the people who are actually landing those $200,000 offers doing differently? It isn't about working more hours, it's about changing where you stand in the process. Let me introduce you to a concept I've seen work for the highest earners this year. The primary source mindset. In a world flooded with AI-generated summaries and generic reports, the most valuable person in the room is the one who has the raw, uncopyable human context. Meet the primary source thinkers. These are the people who realize that the most valuable place to stand isn't inside the process, but at the point where the process requires human judgment. I've seen this play out 100 times. I know people who were project managers, the ultimate rule followers who realized they were being automated out. Instead of fighting it, they pivoted. They became exception designers. They set up the AI workflows, and then they only intervene when the automation hits a wall, and the market is rewarding them for it. AI-augmented domain experts are seeing 35% higher salaries than their peers who refuse to change. But it's not just about using the tools. It's about providing the primary source data that the tools don't have. If you're in marketing, don't just show a campaign. Show how you fixed a hallucinating AI segment that was wasting $50,000 a week. If you're in tech, don't just show your code. Show the moment you overrode the system because you saw a human pattern the algorithm missed. That is human-AI hybrid value. We're seeing a salary premium of 40% to 56% for people who can provide this contextual human insight. This isn't just a lucky break for a few people, it's a fundamental shift in how skills are valued. When I first looked at this data, it hit me. The ladder isn't gone, it's just been moved. Now let's talk about the variable that makes this specific to 2026. It's about moving from being an operator to being a context architect. In 2026, the manual isn't something you follow, it's something you audit, refine, and override. We've reached a point where efficiency is no longer a competitive advantage. It's the baseline. If you're fast, great, but so is everyone else with a prompt. The new premium skill, it's taste. I know that sounds a bit vague, but bear with me. Taste is the ability to look at 100 AI-generated options and know which one actually solves the human problem. It's about context. 88% of hiring managers told us they can detect AI-generated resumes instantly, and over half of them will actually penalize you for it. Why? Because it shows a lack of taste. It shows you couldn't be bothered to add your own primary source value. We're entering an era of model collapse in the corporate world. Companies that rely purely on automated logic are starting to fail because they've lost the human connection to the market. That they are looking for context architects, people who can look at a 25% failure rate in an automated workflow and figure out the exception handling that saves the company millions. About 39% of the skills we thought were core just a few years ago are changing. If you stay within the standard operating procedure, the SOP, you are a commodity. But if you are the one who breaks the SOP to solve a non-standard problem, you become essential. I've seen fractional AI operators managing 3 or 4 clients at once, earning $300,000 a year, not because they are better coders, but because they are better fixers. They find where the AI is hallucinating, and they provide the decisive human intervention. You see the shift, you see the evidence. And honestly, this is the part most people get wrong. They think they need to go back to school. You don't. You just need to change how you present your evidence. So, how do you move your own career onto this high-stakes path this week? If you were sitting across from me right now, here is exactly what I'd tell you to do. We need to move you from a rule follower to a primary source in the eyes of a recruiter. First, I want you to reframe your portfolio. Stop listing tasks you performed. Instead, start documenting human proof. Recruiters are 5 times more likely to search for candidates based on specific skills and exception handling than they are for degrees or job titles. Show them a time when the system failed and you were the one who had to step in. Second, inject human friction into your output. When you send that next application, don't use a template. Write something that could only be written by a person who has actually done the work. Use specific, messy, real-world data points. 88% of recruiters report that human proof, the ability to show unique non-AI reasoning, is the primary differentiator in final round hiring. Third, target the gaps. Look for the places where companies are struggling with AI integration. They don't need more prompt engineers. They need system architects who can manage the high-stakes exceptions. This isn't easy. It requires you to step out from behind the safety of the checklist. But the people who figured this out, they're the ones getting the callbacks. They're the ones commanding the $300,000 premiums. Your goal isn't to be a better robot than the AI. It's to be the person the company calls to prove the robot is right, or more importantly, to fix it when the robot is wrong. The era of the rule follower is over. The machine can follow rules better than you ever will, but the era of the primary source, your era, is just beginning. It's time to stop trying to be perfect and start being indispensable. Let's get to work.